Hey everybody, welcome back to Race of History. Today we're going to do Sabaton's Rise of Evil. We've been kind of hitting on this topic pretty consistently lately with uh, I think we started with Final Solution, but we've hit on a couple of these Third Reich topics recently. And so, staying in the same vein, we're going to do the same thing. This is a video that a fan put together, I believe. So, this is the one we're going to do today. It's a pretty long song, so I probably won't stop it very much, but I'm anxious to hear it, so let's get into it. Okay, so somebody tell me what movie this is. I have absolutely no idea, but it's got me captivated. So I'm very curious what it is. So somebody put down in the comments and let me know. I'm super curious about it. Um, there's a whole lot about this that is pretty interesting to me. Basically, just because it's human nature whenever something like this happens, especially something like this that close to the modern day. It's human nature to try to figure out a way to sort of rationalize it, to and not rationalize it as in make excuses for it, but rationalize it as in like make it make sense, because it really doesn't. To most normal people, it doesn't really make sense. And that's actually something that's super interesting to me. And with the tick video, I think that's why the Hitler madman theory is so prevalent, because it just doesn't fit correctly into most people's brains, right? But that's why the rise of the Third Reich, the rise of World War II Germany is so incredibly interesting to me, because of the psychology of it, the sociology of it, even the economics of it, and the role, the giant role, at least in my opinion, that economics played in the rise of the Nazi Party. There's just so much that went into it, and that had to fall exactly the way that it did for them to gain power and total power in the way that they did. But I've been, I watch and read a lot on history stuff, obviously. And one of the really interesting things to me is how, I don't want to say disgusted, but like how unimpressed Hitler's art attempt was, right? Like people were not impressed with his art. Ironically, it was a Jewish guy who actually helped him sell some of his early art pieces in order to get some money to survive. But all in all, most were not impressed, right? Most in Vienna were not impressed with his art. And that was what he really wanted to do, which is really crazy. If he gets into art school, does he go off and become this crazed madman? That's kind of an interesting, thought process. But what's interesting to me is that as much as people outright disregarded his art and kind of his creative brain, I did not know until recently a lot of the original stuff for the Nazi Party was done by Hitler. The design for the swastika, the way that it was tilted on the flag and the colors and all of that was his doing. And I didn't know that until very recently. And so it seemed kind of ironic to me that for somebody who everybody was kind of like, no, he's not very creative, his art sucks, like he's not really cut out for this, he then built a movement that was deranged, but its power came from the theater and the art and just the whole kind of spectacle and feeling of it. That's just a very interesting kind of juxtaposition to me.
Propaganda, the right will rise.
Who's that supposed to be? Hindenburg?
To last 1,000 years. I see the eagle rising. The rise of evil. rising. The rise of evil.
Okay. Um, Man, it's hard to really stop and talk during stuff like this. Again, I want to know what movie that is because that had me super engaged the whole time. But yeah, it's again, this is sort of a hard topic. Obviously, it's hard because it's something that it's not just hard for people to understand, but it's easy to say something that people will take the wrong way. And so I try to be very careful how I talk about things like this. But yeah, just one of the more interesting things about history is specifically the rise of the Third Reich because it's just so different. It would almost be like, and this is how I see it almost in my head, it would almost be like if the mob took over the US, but like bottom to top, completely took over. They controlled everything, took out the political parties, started a major war, like, but it was the mob, right? That would just be such a bizarre thing, and it would be a whole bunch of bizarre circumstances that would even make it plausible that that could happen. That's kind of how I see the rise of the Third Reich, just almost like the mob, right? I mean, it's the circumstances are a little bit different. Obviously, you have the First World War, and it plays a role in the stab in the back theory and all that. So there are things that make it very specifically German. But just the Kristallnacht and the burning of synagogues and the killing even of people on the side of the Nazis, like that's such a mob thing to do. That once somebody or a group helps you get to a certain level, you kill them off because then they're a threat or they know too much or whatever. I don't know. It's just it's a mob country, I guess, in that time in history, or a mob that takes over and comes to power for a country at least. So yeah, good song, incredible video. Like, I want to know what movie that is so I can see it. But as always, like, comment, subscribe. Help me keep building the channel over here. I'll put the Discord link down below, and I'll see you all next time.